things like now? What's your energy, and what can you do now that you couldn't do before?
Perfect. So I'll go ahead and start with energy levels and symptoms beforehand. So energy level, I put it at a 6 out of 10. I mean, I wasn't like completely in the garbage can, but 60% out of 100% still a failing grade. It's still an F. It's not a passing grade. So yeah, so there was that. And I would actually have to several days out of the week, I would wind up taking naps during my lunch break instead of eating food, just to have enough energy to get through most of my work day. And then symptoms I had was like, couldn't even come close to sleeping more than like 4 hours at a time. Like I would clock out for a bit and I'd just wake up periodically throughout the night. And I knew that was like the biggest part about it was having that as issues. I'd also have strange muscle spasms, muscle cramps, and digestive problems. And I wasn't able to digest food properly, and my diet was super limited. I mean, I was down to just like lean meat and vegetables because everything else would set me off. It didn't matter what it was. And even then with that diet, which was mostly antifungal anyway in nature, I was slowly becoming like what's the words I'm looking for? Allergic to more food groups over time. So I'm like, well, if this continues up, I'll be allergic to everything and I won't be able to eat anymore. So I had to do something about it, and none of the doctors I ran into could seem to solve the problem. So that would answer that question. And I think you had another one. What was the other ones there? So there was the energy level, symptoms, and then where I'm at now, or was there anything else?
Yeah. So I guess then where are you at now in terms of your energy?
I put it like at an 8.5 out of 10. It's catching up pretty quick. I'm undergoing PT right now. To catch up on that, I can finally do PT no problem when I don't have to take naps throughout the day. The PT's to catch up on the atrophy I've had sitting in a chair. I have a desk job on top of no energy, so I was basically not moving at all. Pretty lethargic. So going through the PT program, I've built up. I used to have like hip and lower back pain as well, but that wasn't really related to the diet. The fatigue caused me to sit too long, and then I wasn't hardly moving, which started atrophying other parts of my body. So all the, musculoskeletal issues started to pop up as well.
Right.
So I'm almost at the end of that. I'm only going 1 day a week now, and if I sit in a chair, I could sit in a chair for several hours on end before any pain shows up. And it used to be it would show up in 15 minutes. So that's a big deal too. But I needed to take care of the energy first before I could do anything else. So it's like one step at a time. So the energy levels are catching back up. So basically what I'm doing is, now that I'm starting to reverse all that atrophy, I'm getting to the end of that progress. I just picked up a gym membership less than a week ago. So now I'm working my way in that direction. And I'm keeping the diet the way that it was, because obviously it was very effective. I'm going to start exploring other diets, more in the realm of muscle building and sports nutrition and stuff like that, and moving myself in that direction. But of course, those are slow changes. And yeah, I would put it at energy 8.5 or 9. I'm really, really high energy at this point. I don't take any naps during the day anymore. Haven't needed to. Energy levels have been pretty consistent. I can sleep a good 6 to 7 hours. I haven't hit a full 8 in one shot, but it's a far cry from the 3.5, 4 I was getting before. So it's almost doubled. So
nice.
One step at a time. But yeah, it's happening.
Nice. And then what would you say you can do now that you couldn't do before?
Actually stick to an exercise program 3 days a week and stay awake all day. So stay awake for 14 to 18 hours without having to take a nap or falling asleep or clocking out, or at least dozing off at the keyboard. So that's huge. And the second one is I can now I take walks around the block. I can walk for more than a mile with no issues, no pain, no running out of breath, no energy decline. That's a big change too, because originally I couldn't even hardly get around the block. So that was a big deal as well.
Nice. And so what do you think helped you most in the program? Was it a supplement? Was it your one-on-ones? Was it the groups? What would you say?
I would say the most helpful was the supplementation and the workbook, because I could usually go to the workbook to get most of my answers. And then if I had any residual questions that the workbook and the online portal with all the videos couldn't answer, then I could bring that up in the Zoom sessions
Mhm.
afterwards. So that was like the safety net for questions that couldn't be answered. Because I did have the 6 sessions with Mickey,
Mhm.
and she was able to answer just about every question I had during those sessions as well. So um, I pretty much have a good handle on everything that was going on. But another really useful tool that came out of the online portal was that schedule spreadsheet, because I had like 30 supplements, or at least if I had to take them multiple times a day, there were like 30 something lines on that sheet. A block for breakfast,
Mhm.
that middle between breakfast and lunch, a block for lunch, that little snack break or whatever it was, dinner, and then right before bed. And it was a massive list. And if I didn't have that thing, it would have been impossible to track it all.
Mhm.
So that really helped out.
Nice. And so it sounds like getting your questions answered in an expeditious manner was really important to you.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was just being able to get on the call. I didn't have to have an answer same day, but it was helpful to have a weekly session. And then the extra time I had with Mickey, there were 6 separate calls there. There was a good half an hour as well with one-on-one.
Mhm.
That was really helpful too. But yeah, it was getting all of those questions answered. And I believe the calls were twice a week. I was only able to make one of the time sessions, so I'm glad you started the second one.
Uh-huh.
Because when you started the second time block on the Fridays, I was able to make those consistently. So
Nice.
yep,
Excellent. And now you're getting promoted.
yep.
Do you think that you would have been able to that would have happened if you didn't have the energy that you have now?
No, there's no way, because I wouldn't have been able to stay alert during meetings. There were some meetings where I was actually dozing off and falling asleep in the middle of it. And it wasn't because the meetings were boring. I needed to know that information, but I had no energy.
Mhm.
And if you're falling asleep during a meeting, you're not taking notes, you're not paying attention, or so on and so forth. And if you don't have the energy throughout the day, it's impossible to deal with any of the those moments where you need the energy, like we just had the server go offline, or we have a new hire and they haven't been able to get access to this thing for a week straight, and their manager's angry, that kind of thing. You got to deal with people, and all the whole range of emotions. And
Mhm.
when you lack energy, you become irritable, and then you start wrecking those situations and you make them worse. I mean,
Mhm.
it sounds goofy, but like if you really think about it, I mean, you're not going to make the right choices unless you have the appropriate energy levels day to day in order to handle that. Or you're going to be irritable, or you're going to fall asleep, or you're going to say, oh, I don't have the energy right now, I'll get to it tomorrow. And then you procrastinate, and those cans get kicked down the road forever until they pile up.
Right.
All sorts of stuff. There's no way I could have, like, with the energy I had before and the situation I was in, it was impossible to get beyond where I was at. So
Excellent, and congratulations on that.
thank you.
S-
Yep.
So then, so the program is an investment, right? It's investment of money, it's investment of time. You talked about like 30 different supplements. Was it worth it?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I've been trying to get some people I work with to give you a call, and they keep kicking the can down the road. And I'm like, for the love of anything, like, get on a Zoom call, do some sort of consultation, give it a shot, because I've been to several doctors over 10 years and nobody figured it out. And then I went through your workbook and I had it answered in a week. you know like the workbook was like, well, here's a set of symptoms that are common to these causes, and then I looked at those, and then I had like 4 or 5 answers, and I started doing the lab work. It was, here's a urine sample, take this blood test, or lipids, or whatever it was called. I'm not a doctor, I don't know the terms, but so I did a battery of tests. I probably spent, I don't know, a good $1,200 on tests trying to figure out exactly what it was, and boom, I immediately had answers. There was multiple different types of chemical poisons,
Mhm.
glyphosate, lead and mercury poisoning, all of those. they never saw any of that, right?
Right.
So I started doing the supplement program and I started extracting the metals and the chemicals and the glyphosate. And then months after months after months, I realized it was working, not only because the energy levels increased, but in the weirdest way. I was just like cooking in the kitchen one afternoon, and I finally, for the first time in years, smelt the sulfur in my water as the sink was running. And I had no idea there was that much sulfur in my water. No clue. I had no idea. So then I realized that my sense of smell was returning, and one of the lead symptoms of metals and chemical poisoning was loss of smell.
Yeah.
And mine was coming back. And I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense what's going on. Right. That was the big one. And now it's like, if I get a cup of coffee and I set it in the coffee cup holder in my car next to me, I could smell if there's mocha in it. You know, like I didn't have that kind of smell before, because when you're poisoned as much as I was, your sense of smell is so diluted.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to smell basic things.
Right.
And food tastes different too. So now food takes on an entirely different meaning. And some of the stuff I was like, oh, I'm okay eating this. I can't eat anymore because it doesn't taste the same. It does, like I can now taste that certain brands are not very good compared to others. So it's like the palate changed completely as well because the sense of smell returned. And the last thing to do, my goal is to get a full 8 hours of sleep in one shot. And I'm close to that. I'm not quite there. That seems to be the last thing that's healing, but still there's massive progress across the board. And I'm just going to stick with it. I'm still taking some of those supplements. I mean, I think the last time I took a metals test, I don't have the lead poisoning anymore. That's gone. Awesome. But I'm just going to keep using that stuff because I don't know when I'm accumulating it anyway, in a lot of ways. So I might as well just stick with it for a while longer, or just permanently stick with it on a lower dosage just to keep the system clean, smart. You know?
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, that's smart. And so what would you say to somebody who's like, I don't know if I should do this program, you know, the investment is so much, I don't want to put in the time, I'm not sure I'm going to succeed. What would you tell them?
Well, succeeding is easy when the workbook is as straightforward as it is. You're going to get answers, and you have a support group. You have the online portal, you got the Zoom calls, everybody's in it together. And if you're falling short in any area, you've got a bunch of people to reach out to. So you're not in it by yourself. You don't go to the doctor, have them give you, here is your pill, which will just only like cover a symptom. It's like, if you got a fire alarm going off in your house and you go up and you cut the cord to stop the fire alarm from ringing, but there's still smoke in the house, you're not healing, and it's not working. That's what conventional drugs are doing. They're just snipping the fire alarm so you don't hear the sounds anymore.
Right.
So they're basically just covering symptoms. And if you don't take care of it now, I mean, the symptoms you're going to have that you're silencing, those underlying health issues are going to compile over time. Like, and I'll give you an example with me. When I lacked the energy, I sat more often, which atrophied my muscles, which gave me joint pain. And with joint pain comes other forms of disease. And it's going to compile from there. If I didn't get the glyphosate out of my tract, I would simply become more allergic to foods over time, as my body would be trying to fight something that it can't. Right. And then over time, I would have other health issues because I wouldn't even be able to eat normal. And it compounds over time. And it's like, if you're worried about the investment now, think about your medical bills 30 years in the future. They're going to be way worse than anything you're getting charged right now for a program. I'll leave it at that. It's going to be way worse. And I don't think your insurance is going to cover you forever anyway. So
that's true. And it isn't, we'd like to talk about it as an investment because there's a return on the investment, right? You get your energy back, you get your life back, you get to have more fun, travel, whatever it is that people haven't been able to do.
And in my case, I now have the energy to get a promotion, which means I directly make more money. And because I get to use that track for X amount of years at the new salary, I've more than covered the cost of the program. Right. So it is literally an investment. I'm getting a return on investment on it. Right. So yeah, I mean, absolutely.
And that's a really good point. And that's actually really common. It was a kind of a byproduct that I wasn't expecting, where people are like, I have more energy and now I'm making more money. And, you know, it's kind of like, it's a different, then all of a sudden the investment is a lot more transparent. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, awesome. Well, Justin, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your story with us.
Absolutely.